Over the years, PvE games have risen in popularity with players, either solo or in co-op, tackling various AI threats. There's a good deal of freedom available in how you play and progress. Let's take a look at 15 of the best PvE titles available right now. A quick note before we move forward. Please consider subscribing and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. And while you are at it, also please click like if you enjoyed this video. It really helps us out. With that out of the way, let's begin. Final Fantasy XIV. Regarded as one of the best MMOs, Final Fantasy XIV's approach is more story-oriented than something like World of Warcraft and can be very much enjoyed as a solo experience. As the Warrior of Light, you venture through Eorzea, battling the Beast Tribes, the Garlean Empire, and the Primals while various schemes play out across its nations. Whether you're focusing on the main scenario, indulging in side quests, mastering each job, partaking in raids and dungeons, or simply completing events, Final Fantasy XIV is full of stuff to do. Just make sure to stick with it past the base game. The story improves by leaps and bounds afterwards. Monster Hunter Rise. A new Monster Hunter title is always a momentous occasion, and Monster Hunter Rise combines the finest aspects of World with some great new mechanics. As a hunter seeking to protect Komura Village from the Rampage, you embark on hunts against new monsters and old. The Wirebug opens up traversal and maneuverability quite significantly, while also adding new moves to each weapon tree, which all still feel fantastic. You can ride monsters to battle other monsters, and also engage in some tower defense missions. Even more content is on the way with free updates, so there's plenty to keep you busy. Terraria. Relogic's Terraria is an expansive action RPG experience wrapped up in a charming 2D side-scroller. Mine for resources, craft powerful armor, take on giant bosses, discover epic weapons, fish, golf, conquer the biomes, or simply build the best base ever. Journey's End added even more content and ways to customize the experience, and if you get bored of the base game, there are tons of mods and overhauls that can add even more. In short, give it a chance and Terraria will consume your life. Valheim. Iron Gate AB's breakout survival experience is steeped in Norse mythology, from the massive tree of Yggdrasil overlooking the world to its various foes. The player enters the world with nothing and must build up their base and arsenal to survive. With an intuitive building interface and upgrade loop akin to Terraria, Valheim tasks you with exploring, mining, hunting, and crafting to eventually slay its bosses. Though still in early access, it's an incredibly involving title with more significant updates to come. Sea of Thieves. Many years ago, Sea of Thieves launched in a threadbare state. Nevertheless, its core gameplay loop of roaming the sea, searching for buried treasure, and battling skeletons remained appealing. Since then, lots of new content has been added for free, from the story-oriented tales to a region rife with volcanoes, danger, and valuable treasure. Skeleton ships, the Megalodon, fishing, and much, much more also wait, and new content is still being added. Even if you're not a fan of other players roaming about and potentially causing a ruckus, Sea of Thieves has more than enough PvE content to keep you busy. Warhammer Vermintide 2. Fat Shark's first-person action RPG has undergone a number of changes since launch, adding roguelike expeditions in the Chaos Wastes and new maps to sink one's teeth into. Fortunately, the core combat with its subclasses and loot is still fun. As the heroes of Ubersreik, you're tasked with eliminating the force of Skaven and Chaos, completing multi-stage missions with objectives and battling bosses. It's a nice spin on the Left 4 Dead formula, providing plenty of horde slaying in both solo and co-op. Destiny 2. It's strange to recommend Destiny 2, especially with how much content has been removed with the release of Beyond Light. Still, as a free-to-play experience, it's worth trying out. Gunplay remains excellent, areas like the Dreaming City are fun to explore, and tearing through strikes is as fun as can be. Crucible remains a mess, Gambit is very hit or miss, and you need to purchase the DLC and season passes for more substantial content. But for space magic fun with friends, the base game is still pretty great. Zombie Army 4 Dead War. As a spin-off to the Sniper Elite series, Zombie Army titles are as much about culling the undead hordes as landing sick headshots. Zombie Army 4 Dead War leans into this even further with its over-the-top enemies and story. Multiple characters and customization options for weapons and perks provide some nice gameplay diversity, plus you can hop into horde mode for some quick zombie slaying. And don't worry, the X-ray kill cam is still there to emphasize the more brutal kills. Dying Light. Bear with the base game's boring story, and Dying Light opens up to a very fun first-person action RPG. The parkour elements are appealing, sure, but so is decimating hordes with fire and electric knives, sledgehammers, and swords. The legend system incentivizes playing tougher content, becoming stronger in numerous categories like stamina, HP regen, and so on to tackle greater challenges. Pick up the following expansion for more interesting missions and customizable vehicles. The Division 2. It's hard to keep track of all the changes and overhauls that the Division 2 has had over the years. Its cover-based shooting is still very fun, though especially with new additions like the Summit and its 100 randomly generated floors, though you'll need the Warlords of New York expansion. There's a fairly hefty grind and challenging content for those who want it, with even more updates coming this year, so it's a good time to hop in. Path of Exile. Path of Exile originally began as a spiritual successor to Diablo 2, but has become its own beast over time. With a massive skill tree, tons of different skills, which can be altered via other skill gems, an almost impenetrable crafting system, and numerous endgame activities, it's easily one of the most daunting PvE games to properly learn. If you can get into it and live with its optimization woes, you'll appreciate all the little complexities. With new leagues, skills, and mechanics rolled out every 3 months, it's also constantly evolving. Diablo 3. While not receiving hefty new content updates these days, Blizzard Entertainment's action RPG looter is still a very good game in its own right. The production values are great and the combat feels just right, while the endgame of greater rifts, gear sets, and bounties offer a fairly satisfying grind for those who don't want to spend their days researching progression. If you want a more streamlined looting experience with OP builds, then Diablo 3 is worth checking out. Outriders. Despite an iffy endgame, constant staggers by foes, bugs, and so on and so forth, Outriders can be a bloody good time. Battlefields are often linear as you run through, tanking damage as a Devastator, igniting things as a Pyromancer, slicing through numerous enemies as a Trickster, or summoning turrets as a Technomancer. Weapons have just enough kick, while the modding and upgrade systems are fun to play around with. Its world tiers and cynical storytelling make great, but Outriders is still good for some mindless shooting fun. Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn is a slower but grittier take on the Diablo formula. Though the main story is fluff, you're given a surprising amount of freedom to go anywhere and progress as you please. Leveling up confers masteries, which act as subclasses, and you can combine masteries into powerful dual classes like battle mages and more. After the campaign, there are challenge dungeons, side quests, faction quests, nemesis foes, and much more to tackle, with paid DLC adding the Shattered Domain and Crucible for pushing builds to the limit. Remnant from the Ashes. If you fancy a Souls-like twist to your third-person shooting, Remnant from the Ashes is well worth a look. An interdimensional threat called the Root has taken over the world, and you must travel through various dimensions to figure out how to stop it. From the ruined world of Rome to the swamps of Corsus, each world has their own unique foes and bosses. The lore is decent, upgrading and experimenting with different abilities and weapons is a blast, and most times the difficulty feels just right. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and we would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.